Hi everyone, this is Heather Lottinen from the Flourish Academy. This is episode 540. Today I am at YM Camera and we are talking about getting started with studio lights. So recently inside of the FA membership, one of my photographer friends asked me what I would recommend if I were just getting started inside of a studio, what kind of lights and what would they need in order to make beautiful portraits. And I want to start by saying the biggest mistake you can make is investing in a system that you cannot grow with. So everything I'm going to talk about today works together, and we're going to start really small and straightforward, simple and straightforward, and then we're going to build upon that. So we're going to use the Godox system and talk about how they work together. But I want to say, in terms of where you purchase these pieces of equipment, this gear, I would highly recommend calling or coming to YM Camera. If you call and you tell them, hey, I'm interested in the kit that Heather was talking about, then they will be happy to help you out. Again, this kit is going to start out really basic and then it's going to grow from there. If you are catching the replay of this video, there will be a downloadable PDF available step by step on how to build and grow your studio lights. So let's first talk about who this is for. This is for someone who maybe is interested in shooting inside of a studio, or maybe just their basement or living room. But this is also for a person who may want to take these lights on location. Now that's an important distinction because that's the reason I selected this system. This system can go outside completely untethered, meaning you don't have to have battery packs and then all of this heavy equipment to lug around because these run on rechargeable batteries. So that's one of the many reasons I selected the Godox system. In terms of pricing, nothing beats Godox. Oh, hey Brenda, it's very, very affordable. And it's going to be the same price anywhere you go. If you happen to see a cheaper price on, say, the V862, which I'm going to talk about, their flash, that flash should be $179 wherever you go. If it is not, then there's probably an issue. Now, here's the thing. I know that some of you are like, oh, I'm just going to buy it on Amazon because I don't live near YM Camera. Okay, false, because let me explain. YM Camera is generous enough to the Flourish Academy to allow us to play. They unbox all this equipment. They allow us to test it and play with it. So you are going to shop here. And they fast shipper than Prime. Oh my gosh, if I can speak. They ship faster than Prime. Hi, Diana. Good morning. And here's the thing. If you buy it on Amazon, you will at most get a 30-day warranty. But if you purchase from YM, you will get at least a 1-year warranty, if not more. Hey, how are you? You're okay. Listen, I have people, so many people here coming into the There's one person. But you know that since you're here live, you may ask questions if you have a question, because the chances are if you have the questions, somebody else has it as well. So you can, if you want. Okay. Hey, good morning, Katie. I'm so glad that you're here. Okay. YM is the best, Stacy. Thank you. Okay, let's start with the most basic and simple setup. Okay, Becky says, yes, fact, I ordered a lens and got it here the next day. Yeah, if you're local, you'll get it really quickly. So, okay, let's say you want to create off-camera lighting in a studio or in your living room or your basement or whatever. I'm going to recommend that you start with the Godox V862. Now, make sure that you obviously buy it for your system. So you'll see here this designation of N, that is for Nikon, Fuji, Sony, Canon, etc. Make sure you buy the right one because it does need to talk to your system. The Godox V862, look at the price on that. $179. To me, this is practically free because when I think about a Canon or Nikon flash sitting around $500 or $600, this is very inexpensive. Again, we're starting from the bottom and we are growing. So if we start with the Godox V862, and the trigger. So this trigger would mount on your camera. This is called the Godox X Pro trigger. This one happens to be for Nikon. It is $69. The combination of these two things and a light stand could get you started with off-camera flash in your studio. In fact, you would need this, a light stand, and probably it would be a good idea to have some type of reflector. Because if you only have one light, I mean, even if you have multiple, but if you only have one light, you would definitely want to reflect that light off of something so that you could get shadows to fill in. Okay, I priced this just before going live. This system, you could get started with studio lights less than $400. So again, that's not very expensive to get started, to get some beautiful light. This stand, I believe, this is a ProMaster. I'm a real fan of ProMaster. This is the ProMaster Deluxe stand. And oh my gosh, don't quote me on this. I want to say this is $99 or $100, like so inexpensive. And we have the flash mounted, and with the trigger mounted on your camera. Here's what that trigger looks like. This trigger mounted on your camera, you could actually get started very quickly. Now I know that to some of you, this might look really complex, like, oh my gosh, there are so many buttons, but it's really quite simple. Wait for it, you turn it on. You turn it on, you make sure this is on the same channel, this is on the same channel, and it will fire. Very, very simple. Along with the reflector, opposite of the light, so you could bounce this light, you could make sure that you're getting some light reflected off of the reflector back to your subject. With this, you're looking at sub $400, which to me, you guys, for studio lighting used to be thousands of dollars. This is super inexpensive. You could also get a small modifier, like maybe the MagSphere for the Godox, and modify it a little bit if you wanted to, but that's a very straightforward, simple setup. Also, if you're here live, please feel free to ask questions and I'll try to answer them. But we're starting with a simple setup that we can grow or add on to, augment as needed. And by the way, I know it's very affordable. Yeah, Katie says it's affordable. I don't know, some people just like go all out and spend thousands of dollars right out of the gate on a bunch of lighting that they don't know how to use. They're not sure how it's going to look. Like, I don't understand why you would do that. I would personally start with the least expensive option and then build upon that. So yeah, this is a very basic setup, but it will work and it would get you some nice lighting. I mean, you could even use this for your family at Christmas time. And if you like to learn and play with light, like, why wouldn't you do that? Whether you have clients or not, it's still really fun. Any questions on this? Do you have any questions on this? No. Okay, she's good. Can you cover softboxes? Yeah, I have a ton of softboxes here I'm going to talk about. Will this trigger work with my Canon flash? I don't believe so. Without testing it, I wouldn't be able to say. But the importance of this, Myra, is we're talking about staying inside of one ecosystem. So I'm selecting Godox as my ecosystem because for many reasons, but one of which is the affordability. But I also like that all of these devices, including the flash, operate on rechargeable batteries. And so I don't have to buy stock in AA's anymore. So that's why I love it. And I would recommend, the trigger is called let me get the box. X Pro 1. The X Pro 1 trigger for Godox with the V862, a reflector. This reflector is from ProMaster, and the stand is also from ProMaster. Again, if you call YM Camera and say, I want that really basic setup that Heather was talking about, this will come in at just under $400, and it is a great starting point. So hopefully that helps you guys get started, and we're gonna, yes, question? Oh, she's asking what would hold the reflector. Actually, okay, if you wanted to start adding on to your system, I would recommend getting a reflector stand, because I have been known to like rig setups where I'm like balancing it, and I'm setting it against a chair or a stool, and then it falls over and it's a pain. If you want to look legit, get a reflector stand. I don't think they cost very much. I should have asked Robbie for a reflector stand. I don't think they cost a lot of money either. Yes. Oh, thanks, Ashley. Thank you. I mean, Becky, thanks for replying to Ashley. Okay, yes. Godox. So we're doing everything Godox today. Okay, so that's the first setup. The second setup would be to add another V862, because again, they're at $179, so they're very inexpensive. So you could take two V862s, and now you're starting to have multiple options with your setup, because a moment ago our options were, this is on your camera, it triggers this. Okay, done. If we add one more of these, you now have the option to put one more off camera, so you would have two lights, which would be beautiful. Or you could put one of these flashes on your camera, at which point you would take this off, you would mount the flash. These Godox flashes talk to one another. They don't need any external triggers to do that. It's amazing. They have built-in radio triggers. I have tested them extensively at weddings, and they have never failed me. So they talk very nicely to one another, which I would expect, because again, they're in the same ecosystem. So now if I have two flashes off camera, maybe I need the reflector, maybe I don't, Now I'm starting to add a lot more dynamic light to my setup. And again, I could decide to take one of those flashes and put it on the camera and just see what that looks like and bounce it around. But that's the next step up. So we started with one flash and a trigger. We've now added 2 flashes. And next, if you decide, well, I don't know if I need 2 flashes, or I would actually rather prefer a studio light that has more power, then I would recommend, I'm gonna move my V862. I would recommend the Godox AD200. So the AD200 is a higher powered studio light. You can see it here. It has this Bowens S-type mount, and this is going to be for softboxes, so I'll come back to that. So this is from Godox, this mount. It does not come with the AD200. So first we're going to talk about the light, and then we're going to talk about modifiers, because these are 2 separate things. So we have the AD200, also battery powered, very lightweight. You need a stand for it. So maybe you already have a Godox V862. A lot of people in the Flourish Academy already do. Then maybe you just want to add the Godox AD200, which comes in at $349. $349 for a studio light. If you are thinking to yourself that's expensive, you are wrong. That was not true, because we come from the days when we would spend thousands of dollars on lights that are very similar to this. So $349 for this is actually really inexpensive. So, I mean, you just have to, you know what I would do is I would make a list. I would write down, and again, if you're catching the replay, you can just take a look at the PDF, but I would write down, like, what do I need right now to get started to learn? And then how do I want to augment that? Where and how do I want to add on? So we have this AD200. I would highly recommend with an AD200 that you get some type of modifier. You could shoot this just like this, but it's going to be kind of harsh lighting, and we want to modify it somehow. So again, we put this mount on here. This is sold separately. This Godox, it's a Bowens S-type mount. Now, at the beginning of the video, I had said the biggest mistake you can make is buying a system that you cannot grow with. It's really important to get the right mounts and the right softboxes so that you can interchange everything. The mistake I see people make is they're very short-sighted, and they'll go on Amazon and they'll buy this $150 kit, and it probably works, maybe, and it's great for a little while, but then you want to add on to it because it's not enough, and nothing communicates and nothing works with anything else because it's proprietary. This is a very common, ubiquitous mount for these types of lights, so that multiple softboxes from different companies, it's very common, Bowens S-type, so that they can interchange with one another. So I have a bunch of soft boxes here. We'll start with this Godox 60-inch softbox, which I love. So it has a cover. I just don't have it on right now. And it obviously mounts on here. I'm not going to do it because it would block my view, and it's ginormous. But it softens the light, and it's very nice. It's a nice large size, and I think it's great. And I'm pretty sure, oh, don't quote me on the prices. I had them all written down, but there's so many different options. I want to say this is around $100. Oh my gosh. That is so inexpensive. $100 Godox. Godox 60. You see this? Mounted on this AD200. Somebody do some math for me. $349 plus $100. Oh, that's $449. $450 for just this. And if you, hey, looky here. Maybe you don't want the V862 flash. Maybe you have it, maybe you don't want it. You could buy this trigger for $70, put this on your camera, and fire the AD200 with it. So you bypass the V862. I think it's a good idea to have the flash. It's really inexpensive, but I'm just giving you options. It depends on the look you're going for, what you're trying to light, and how big you're trying to make that light. So what type of modifier you decide to purchase will depend on what you're trying to light. At $100, I would absolutely pick up one of these soft boxes. I would also purchase a shoot-through umbrella. So the way these umbrellas work, I may or may not have one near me, is that you can shoot through them, and they operate in a similar fashion to a softbox. It's a little bit different. Or you can put the cover on the back and you can reflect off of it and turn it around. They're super inexpensive and it just gives you a different type of light. If you do a quick Google search and you look up modifiers and the light, the shape of the light, there's a lot of really great graphics that you can see, like what type of catch light does that produce in the eye and how big of an area does it cover. Because next I have a beauty dish. You may have heard of the beauty dish. This is again by Godox, 60, also very inexpensive. This is what a beauty dish looks like on the inside. So it has this piece, and this type of light casts a little, I hate to use the word harsh, it's just not quite as soft as a softbox, but it's that old Hollywood portrait type style light, hence the reason it's called a beauty light. This is for one person in a headshot. So you wouldn't buy a beauty light like this or a beauty dish. You wouldn't buy the beauty dish if you plan on lighting groups of people or families. Now, if you are going to do headshots or you want to produce beautiful portraits, this is like a must-have. Oh, Alyssa says she has it. Yeah, this is a must-have. Also, same type of mount, so you can mount it right on the AD200. This softbox is going to produce larger, softer light. Obviously, this one is smaller and it's a little bit more direct. Now this, sorry, I bumped that. This one does come with a cover, so it can sort of emulate a softbox, but again, because of the size of it, it's not going to cast as much light. So this is for like one or maybe two people at max, and it's usually pretty close to your subject. So I don't want you to think that you can light a full group of people, full length with this, because that would not work. Okay, we have another Godox. This big one, this is a 60 by 90 softbox. It's huge. It looks huge. It is. It's very big. But my friend Anne has a softbox in her studio that is like, it has to be 6 or 8 feet. It's just huge. So while this might look big, and it is compared to the other ones, it's certainly not the biggest one. But this is a nice option, again, for a bigger space. You need more light, you need more people, you're going to be further away, then this is definitely something you would want to consider. People ask me, I saw a question, people ask me all the time which one I should get, and it really depends on what you're trying to accomplish. Are you indoors in a big studio with a lot of people? Are you in your basement with your kids? Do you have walls? Do you have ceilings? Are you outdoors? That's also going to dictate which light, because I have another light I want to talk about, but I have one more modifier, and that's this 30 by 140 strip from Godox, and that's pretty interesting, huh? So it's more narrow light. Sometimes people will have a V860 or an AD200 on one side, my friend Valerie does this, on one side with a strip, and then on the other side, they'll have a softbox, and they'll have these set to different ratios, different outputs of power, so that, you have, because you're typically not trying to create flat light, you're trying to create highlights to shadows, some type of definition. So you want different lights on different sides. Katie's asking, do the softbox travel easily or no? Well, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. It's like people say, how difficult or easy are reflectors to open and close? Well, I think they're like a Rubik's Cube, like a puzzle. It's very challenging for me to close a reflector, but my friend Susie can do it with her eyes closed. She can be like, and it's closed. I would say they can travel because I hesitate to use the word lazy, efficient, because I am an efficient person. I would leave them assembled and put them in my back seat or my trunk. I wouldn't attempt to tear these down every time. And I would, this is my opinion, I would personally not take these particular softboxes on a wedding. So for me, the easiest wedding setup is the mag box. So the mag box we're talking about a different setup. So I'm not covering that today because the mag box is not inexpensive and it's not part of a bigger ecosystem that we can build upon. So I don't want to talk about wedding lighting today because that's different. So we're talking about studio or on location where you're traveling with some form or some component of this. I know senior photographers, John takes, I don't know if he takes one of these bigger studio lights or just a flash. I do know what he takes because he brought it at Camera Club a couple weeks ago. He brought a bigger light and a couple of flashes, and he'll use anywhere from a 1 to 3 light setup with some of his senior photos, and they're beautiful. And he's modifying them with different modifiers. So 2 might have a softbox, 1 might have an umbrella. He's positioning them differently. It just depends on, again, what is the look that you're going for. So if you want to start out really basic, even on location, I would recommend using the V862 with a trigger and some type of modifier on location, you know, that you're messing around with to see, is it producing the results that you want? And does it have enough power? I hesitate a little bit on the on location with the V862 because the AD200 has way more power. And if you're going to be shooting outside and you're trying to balance the ambient light or possibly even overpower the sun, then I would definitely recommend getting your AD200 for your on location work. Yes, the Godox system is very, very versatile. Lots of different products. Okay, and then back here, I have, I'm being careful with this one. This one is, I mean, none of them are, this is a little heavier. This is very lightweight and I think really easily portable. This one, I'm like being a little more careful. It's a little heavier and it's also a little bit more expensive. This is the AD400 Pro and it comes in at $649. What is the difference? Thank you for asking. It's more power. It has more power. It comes with that 3-prong mount that we had to purchase separately here. So this is a separate component for the AD200. Does not come with that mount. The AD400 Pro does come with this mount. In my professional opinion, more often than not, the AD400 or the 600, those are lights that I'm going to use in my studio, whether that's a studio that you have access to or your basement studio, doesn't matter. It's going to stay there. It's not necessarily the one I'm going to throw in my trunk and take on location. You could, and I know that people do it. Of course, people do it. For me personally, I would rather have this AD200 to take on location, and I would keep the AD400 in my studio. Now, Godox actually just came out with these, just got these in, these bags to carry these lights. This bag is $79. I mean, if you've looked at camera bags, you know they range usually in the $200 to $300 range. This is $80. And it's nice because listen, I'll throw that softbox in my trunk all day long, but I'm not tossing the light there. I'm gonna put it in a padded camera bag because I don't wish to break it. So you could pick up one of these for $80. Is anyone watching, like doing some really quick math? Okay, let's see. If I need this component and that component, you can start your studio setup at $400 or less, very basic. And you could go all the way up to, $800 or $1,000, just depending on how much you add to it. I don't think you need to buy everything at once. I actually personally think that's a mistake because how do you know what you're going to need until you're actually shooting and practicing with it? And then you say, oh, I'm using this, I'm using the, I should be careful. I think they probably have a rule here, like you break it, you bought it. So I'm being careful with that light. If you have this V862 and you're using it and you're like, oh man, that's not enough power. Okay, that's cool. Just pick up the AD200. Yeah, Katie says less than 400 to start is amazing. It really is. And then you practice with light. But again, 2 mistakes I see people making. One is they go out and buy kits on the cheap that they cannot grow with, and then they don't understand why things aren't working. Another mistake is they spend thousands and thousands of dollars on everything under the sun that they don't know how to use. They get it home and they're overwhelmed with the setup. If you started with 1 flash off camera and you used the X Pro to trigger it, and you had your reflector, you would quickly learn, oh, I think I need another light. I don't think that reflector is giving me enough light on that side. I'm going to add another light to this. Then you pick up an 80-200. Then you pick up a softbox. Then you experiment, and you just add to your system and your collection as you go. Good news, to me, this is very low risk, because if I hate it and it doesn't work, I sell it. So it doesn't really matter to me, but I don't know. Thanks, Katie. She says she loves the sensible and efficient approach. I don't want you to waste your money. I want you to make sure you are ordering from YM, because again, if you get this gear off of Amazon, you will get usually a 30-day warranty, but with YM, that is a 1-year warranty, and that's kind of a big deal. They will ship to you immediately. We need to support them, small business, rah, all of that. But they allow us meaning the Flourish Academy, to come here and play with all of this gear and unbox it and hopefully not break it. Okay, with all of that being said, what are your questions, or what? Okay, here's a better way of saying that. What is preventing you from moving forward with an off-camera light setup? Is there something that's confusing or intimidating? Do you have anything?
Just the overall how to use it.
How to use it. So using it, the triggers. So in the Flourish Academy membership, we do have a getting started with Flash. I don't know, I hesitate to call it a course, because it's really just a video talking about how to turn everything on and get it started. So if you are overwhelmed with all of that, what you need to do is let me move this big, giant, expensive one. That's very heavy out of the way, and bring this one. You pick up this V862, you literally turn it on, and it's an auto ETTL, which means evaluative through the lens. It's auto, it's reading data from the camera. You turn this on. Now you do have to change in the menu, or there's a button that you press in order. Yeah, it's double-sided arrows that you press to turn on the radio signals. So you turn the flash on, you turn the radio signals on so that they can communicate, and you make sure they're on the same channel. And so, okay, listen, you've never done it before, so you don't know how, that's fine. You could find a YouTube video in about 5 seconds that will show you how to turn that on, turn this on, and get it firing. That's, obviously, the first step is getting it working. Sometimes, did I ever tell you guys this? I like to challenge myself by not reading instructions to see how intuitive it is. So sometimes I'll just get something, I'll turn it on, I'll turn this on, and I'll just press test. Did I get it to fire? No. And I'll start pressing buttons to see if I can figure it out, to see, again, how intuitive it is. So I did this with Godox, and I found it pretty straightforward. But again, if it's not straightforward to you, that's okay. Watch a YouTube video, get it working. Once you get it working, by the way, there are steps to troubleshooting. I always test this prior to mounting it on my camera. So I will turn these both on, and there is a button, and it has a little lightning bolt for flash. I will press this. This doesn't have a battery. I will press this to see if this fires. If it doesn't, then I need to figure out why that's happening. Maybe I need to check the channels, whatever. When it does fire, then I mount it into my camera. I press the test again to make sure it's still communicating. Then I take a test photo by releasing the shutter. Is the camera communicating through the hot shoe to the device, which is then sending a signal to the flash? And hopefully it works. And if it doesn't, you just troubleshoot and figure out, where, but the first step is is this working? If this is working, and then you put it in and it doesn't work, then there could be something with the camera. How are they communicating? So get it working, and then it's a matter of placement. Where do I put the flash? Where do I put the reflector? And then take some test shots to see how that looks. If you don't have anybody who's cooperative in your family, well, first of all, make them. I just say, sit and let me take your photo, because I'm learning how to use this system. You could place some type of object there. What you're looking for is shadows. Where are the shadows falling, and are they flattering? I don't want any shadows casting on the wall behind me. I don't want strange shadows on the face. So then it's just a matter of playing with placement. And there are a lot of tutorials on, 45 degrees, this many degrees. But I would encourage you to stop being a freak about it and just practice with it and get it set up so that it looks good to you. Start with a system and then just play around with it. Okay. Let me see these. Where would you place the reflector? Tracy is asking. Typically, you would place it opposite the light. So if I had my light to my left, I would have this reflector. This is not open, obviously, because it's much larger. I would have the reflector to my right, and you have to think in terms of physics. I want the light to hit the reflector and then bounce towards my subject. So you have to experiment a little bit with what that looks like. So you wouldn't want it like this, right? If you put it, I'm parallel. If I put it parallel to this light, then it's just bouncing off of itself, and unless something is like right in between it, it's not going to hit it. It has to be at an angle, so that this bounces off of here and bounces towards your subject. So at an angle, typically opposite of the light, because what you're doing is you're reflecting the light. The light is coming out of the flash, it's hitting the reflector, it's bouncing back to your subject. Lynn is asking, is there a light, battery operated, you recommend for outside shooting? Yes, Lynn, as a matter of fact, I do. This is it. The Godox system is all portable, and it's all for outdoor or indoor. That's why I love it, because back in the day, we had to carry battery packs around, which are super heavy and cumbersome, in order to get our lights to work outside. That is no longer the case. These batteries are incredible. They last forever. They're super lightweight, rechargeable, and you don't have to worry about plugging things in or having external power. I believe they do have adapters that you can buy separately. Like if you were a studio shooter and you were going to be shooting for 9 or 10 hours in your studio, a school or something, and you didn't want to run off the battery, you can get an adapter to plug into the wall, should you wish, but that depends on the situation. Okay, Becky is asking, what about Pro Photo? Trigger's expensive and wondering if I should scrap it and turn to Godox. Yeah, you should. Yes. Yeah, I mean, they can get you Pro Photo. It's going to be 85 times more expensive. And I just really appreciate the affordability and flexibility of Godox and what I can do with it. So my personal recommendation is and I have an A1 and I still occasionally use it, but I have my off-camera system or anything I want to do like that's studio related is going to be Godox. So, I mean, you don't have to get rid of it. I did not, but if you wanted to bring it in, you could sell it also. There's 2 ways you could do that. You can come into the store and they do trade-ins. So then that would knock some price off of like what your Godox is going to be, what you're going to purchase. And also next week, they're doing the cash for cameras. I don't know that if they buy flashers or not, but I know that they buy cameras. An independent third party comes in and does that. Cynthia is asking, is there a light modifier that can be used for the V862? Yes, there is. In that case, I would recommend the MagSphere, which is the MagMod system for the V862. That's what I have and use. I'm sure there are others. But I like that it's small, and I like that it simulates a softbox. It's just a lot smaller. You could, in theory, I haven't tried this. You could take this mount that's on this AD200. You see this mount? I can take this, because this does not come with the AD200, it's separate. I could take this mount off of here and put it on this V862 and then use a softbox in conjunction with it. I'm pretty sure that would work. Again, I haven't tested it, but I don't see, it looks like this would tighten down enough to fit that. Don't quote me. You would have to call Robbie and ask him if that would fit. Otherwise, it would be the MagSphere to go on there. Okay, you're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, good. Any last minute thoughts or questions? Does it feel overwhelming to you? Are you going to do it? She's going to do it. My friend Heather is here. She's going to, but what are you going to go for?
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, do you have a V860?
I have a Pro Photo.
She has a Pro Photo. Pro Photo. Yeah. So you might, I mean, you could keep it, but you might want to sell it. I mean, you don't need to get a V860. I explained, you could also just go right into the 8200 if you're doing off camera. If you could keep your pro photo for on camera and just use this Godox off camera. You would do the 8200 and the X Pro trigger. All of them are very, very affordable. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments and I'll get back to you. I'll see you in the next video.